Hey everyone, welcome to the results video of the triple launch coaster contest. Now, we had a lot of entrants this round. In the end, we had 36 completed entries that were approved. In this video, I will just go through all the entries. I will start with the one that got last place, and I'll finish with the one that won the round. Okay, in last place, we had this coaster made by Imcompetence. To be honest, it doesn't look that bad. I kind of like the buildings. What is kind of missing here in the buildings, I think, is these wooden fences here aren't slanted. I would slant them like this. With the tile inspector, that usually looks a lot better with these wooden roofs. And something else I would do, well, for example, here you see a building which has some grass on the inside. When you make buildings, you should never put grass inside of them. Buildings don't have grass on the inside. Also, I thought the vehicle choice was a bit strange. There's these wooden coaster trains. It does look unique, but it's not something I think you'd expect on a triple launch coaster. Okay, here we have the entry that got 35th place. This one was made by Mattiyahoo. You can see the coaster going around here. This triple launch coaster is actually quite unique in that the coaster actually first has a drop here, then it sort of hangs on this hill, then goes back up here, and then up the spike, and only then it gets launched here over the hill. So yeah, it's one of these triple launch coasters which gets launched through the station. Overall it is quite a nice entry, but it wasn't very spectacular. So that's probably why it ended up in this place. You can see the coaster barely make it up the hill here. Here it goes back through the station. So yeah, there's some nice buildings here. I think the buildings could have used a little bit more details. These only used the base blocks and walls from the base set. Probably combining a few more themes will make you nicer buildings. But still, this is not a bad entry, just not very spectacular, and spectacular entries usually get rated a little bit higher. Alright, here we have the entry from Prince 10B. This color scheme reminds me a bit of Medusa, the coaster from the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, the original game. So yeah, the layout, I kind of like the color scheme of the coaster. Layout is also quite nice. What disappointed me a little bit about this entry was you have these buildings here. Again, there's grass on the inside and trees. You don't very often see trees inside a building. Then there's this river rapids ride which travels across the edge of the map. One thing that's a bit disappointing is that you barely see the river rapids ride because it's all covered with trees, and at some point here it goes underground, and then it stays underground for most of the ride. I think this would be a very boring river rapids ride, sadly. Other than that, I'm not really sure if checkerboard land goes really well with spammed trees and bushes. This probably could have taken a little bit more care. Also, there's some trees here on the middle of the track that probably also doesn't really help. So yeah, the highlight here is really for me is the color scheme of the coaster. And the layout also looks quite nice. Alright, here we have the entry made by TheSheq. Again, just like in an earlier round, he did some heavy landscaping also all along the edge of the map. I think that's a bit of his trademark. So yeah, all the rides here have names like Secret Base Coaster Isn't Here. And what's this? This coaster doesn't exist. Apparently this map is a secret base somewhere in the Antarctic. I'm not really sure what the story was anymore. Oh, by the way, there's 36 entries, so I'm only spending a short time on every map. I really encourage you to go download these maps from my Discord server, from the archive, and then you can see them all for yourself, and you can also follow the cars on these coaster tracks. It would become a really long video if I had to show all these coasters going through their triple launches. So yeah, that's why I cannot spend too much time in each entry. Alright, well, I do really like the way this coaster looks. The layout is probably a bit too much. You could see it go through this loop really fast. So yeah, the layout is a little bit wacky. Also, there's this sort of a boomerang here. Yeah, when you make your entry for these contests, I think when people make a boomerang ride or something similar, it kind of detracts from the entry, because it's these layouts that you always see in parks. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I think all in all, this entry looks quite nice. One thing that also stood out about this entry was that it used the wall edges from the original game Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. In Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, you can actually link to your folder with RCT1 files, and then you can use all these extra wall styles from the original game. That's also what TheSheq used here. The downside is that players who don't have Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 linked, they just see the default cliffs. So yeah, so you should always be a bit careful when you use these wall types in your entries. Okay, here we have the entry made by The Bensonian. He's also a newcomer on my Discord. I really like this palette. I actually made it once for a contest, so it's fun to see people reuse the stuff that I made. I also really like the buildings here. They look great. I think the coaster goes over this top hat a bit too fast. That would probably be quite uncomfortable. The coaster probably could have done with a little less speed. But still, the overall layout is quite nice. It kind of looks a bit like the layout I made in the announcement video. But yeah, overall, I kind of like the palette. The coaster layout's quite nice. Could have been a little bit slower, and I think the landscaping is all a bit maybe too simple. Probably could have used some more decorations or buildings. Also, these rides all still have the standard, the default entrances and exit huts. Could have maybe done with a station building. But still, I think it looks quite good with the crazy palette. Okay, here's the entry made by Stonks. I really liked how these coasters fit in the landscape. So here's a triple launch coaster. Let's see. Oh yeah, so here it leaves the station. Immediately does a barrel roll here. And then with a turn it goes into the launch section. I like that he used the floorless coaster train, because those look most like the Gerstlauer trains. Probably would have been even better if he also used the Giga Coaster track. So yeah, this layout looks quite nice. I kind of like the supports here on the top hat. And here it's just a nice mixture of inversions and twists. So yeah, really nice layout. I also really like the way this second coaster fits into the landscape. Sadly, it breaks down quite soon after you open the scenario. So that's a little downside, I think. Here you can see it running again. Alright, so yeah, nice landscaping here as well. I think most people were a bit disappointed that there's just these few rides. Probably could have used some more stuff to look at. But still, the stuff that is here is all really nice. Really nice landscaping. Alright, here's the entry made by Bear. He spent very little time on this, which probably also shows. So yeah, a lot of things look a bit rushed. Well, for example, you have these buildings here. Let me disable the rain quickly. You have these buildings here with these poles on the side, and the poles go in front of the windows. There's just lots of little stuff like that. There's the roofs clipping through the monorails here. Monorails with these really short trains. Yeah, a lot of things just seem a bit rushed. You have the guests walking here, and they clip through the monorail track. So yeah, the thing which is nice in this entry is really the coaster layout. So yeah, here's the station of the coaster. Sadly, you can still see some grass inside the station. Another place where it's a little bit rushed. I do like when people put a barrel roll right out of the station. I think it's called JoJo roll, and then it goes into the triple launch. It's a nice, I think it's called a scorpion tail. And this is his signature element, a bear roll. Basically, it's a non-inverting cobra roll. I really like using these. They're quite cool. Also the supports here. Also, I think they work quite well. Especially on the higher parts, these supports look good. Okay, here's the entry from Dymfer, or Dymfer. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Dymfer. Yeah, what immediately stands out about this entry is the nice color scheme. I really like it, especially here on the roofs. This looks great. So I also really like the launch section of the coaster, which is here. Basically, it's dug out here with water at the bottom. And the coaster actually uses this part to accelerate over the top hat. I really like how this is done. I love the yellow strip here with the water coming from it. That's great. Coaster was called Tiala. Not sure what that means, but it's probably just a made-up word to make use of the Goliath characters here. Also like the food buildings here. The coaster layout, well, except for the launch section, I think it's a bit too long, and for a lot of the layout it's just a really big, an endless string of inversions. So yeah, probably could have done with a little bit less jumble of inversions. You can also see in the intensity rating 10.89. I think if it was a little bit higher, I guess would not ride it anymore. Yeah, when I make a coaster, I typically try to avoid having very long underground sections. But yeah, that's just me, because I like realism in coasters a bit. Also, one thing that I don't really like is that the station of this coaster is underground, so that way you cannot really decorate the station. And I always like to have a nice station building. I do like that the entry for this coaster actually passes through this waterfall. That's quite cool. Okay, here's the entry made by Fennec. Now, here's a really big triple launch coaster going all throughout the plot. I think it even has two triple launches, one up here and one all the way down here. I actually didn't notice before. But yeah, it's mostly because there's so much to see on this plot. So yeah, one thing that was actually pretty cool about this plot is that it has a story through it. So, well, you can basically get the story if you go through the ride names and also through the employee names. But yeah, this is probably best experienced if you just download the map and go see it for yourself. It's I kind of like the way this is done. You don't see that often, that people really make a story that you can figure out while watching the park. Okay, here's the entry made by Kanaiva. I hope I pronounced that right. Here's a really small triple launch coaster, but with a nice mix of inversions. Here you can see it go up the first hill. a little loop here, then here's a dive loop, then some more helixes, and then back to the station. Yeah, I think this is quite a realistic layout for a triple launch coaster. It's not too big. Yeah, it's a lot smaller than most entries, and a bit more. Let's call it down to earth. Also, some nice simple buildings here. Yeah, I kind of like the way this looks. It's like a pirate fort. Also, nice river rapids going around the entry. So yeah, some really nice landscaping, some nice buildings, small coaster. I really like it. Okay, here's the entry from DeZalt. So yeah, I like how we used a different coaster type than most people. He actually used a flying coaster for this. Here you can see the triple launch coaster, so guests are actually upside down while being launched, and then the coaster goes all throughout the entire entry through different landscapes. You can see some jungle here. Here's some fire and other stuff. Here's I think here's a launch section with some astronauts running around. I don't completely remember what the story for this plot was, but there's a nice mix of rides. Actually, my favorite part of this plot was not the triple launch coaster, but this sack spin coaster. It looks just as uncomfortable as the real thing. I've ridden one of these insane at Grona Lund, and it was not a very comfortable experience. But yeah, this is really well done. I really like the way this is done, and it's quite recognizable as a sack spin. Alright, and there's also a little coaster here in the middle, but sadly you don't see it run very often. Or maybe I'm just not looking. Here it is. One thing I didn't really like about this plot was, I think some of these areas look a little bit empty. It was worse. I recommended the uploader to add some stuff to the outside, and he did, which definitely improved the entry. Alright, here's the entry from Yeebaagoon. You can see this big triple launch coaster here. Yeah, this what I didn't really like, the layout actually looks quite messy here. I prefer my layouts to look clean. Also, I typically don't put these photo sections because I think they look a bit silly in my layouts, but some people like to use them. So yeah, lots of inversions in this coaster, big jumble. Yeah, I prefer my layouts a bit cleaner. Also, the color scheme is not really to my liking, but I did see some other people who did actually really like the color scheme. So yeah, it's just a matter of taste. What I did really like in this entry was this stuff here in the trees. This is really good. There's a lift that goes up to the trees here, and yeah, I think this combines really well with these monorail walls and all the trees here. This is really my favorite part of the plot. There's some other rides here as well. This is also quite cool. This flying saucer with invisible track on the water. That's nicely done. Okay, here we have the entry from Wacked. Sadly, he wasn't able to really finish his plot. The coaster layout, I think it looks great. This is a really good layout. It's just the right amount of inversions, and yeah, I think it's just a really good pacing for the roller coaster. Some helixes, just a great layout. So yeah, this entry really had a lot of potential. Everything looks really nice here. Even a display train here. Really cool buildings, rocks. But yeah, you can really see how unfinished it is. There's actually quite a lot of glitching going on throughout the plot. His queues sadly look quite unfinished, and so does the station. So yeah, I'm really sad that Wacked wasn't able to really bring his entry into a more finished state. But yeah, this was really promising. I hope he gets to finish his entry in the next contest. Okay, here's the entry from PaulKappel. He made this little island with a triple launch coaster on it. So yeah, I do like how compact everything is here. Also, the triple launch coaster, it is intertwined a bit with this mini suspended coaster over here. You can see the triple launch coaster get launched here throughout these inversions. Then over these hills, over this top hat. Then it goes here under this or behind this building. So yeah, mostly hills here. I think maybe the layout could have done with maybe with one more inversion rather than more hills. But I must say I do like the way it looks. The color scheme on this island is pretty nice to look at. But yeah, as you can see, most of the map is water. It probably would have been a little bit nicer with maybe a little bit more content. But yeah, nice density of elements here. Also, it is sadly a bit glitchy in some places, which is kind of disturbing sometimes. Okay, here we have the entry from Themboys. A lot of verticality in this plot. You can see the coaster plunge down here. Then it goes behind the cliffs again. And here's then a launch section. So yeah, there's just lots of insane landscaping here. There might be a little bit too much, some people call it too many diamonds. That's what you get when you lower the ground all in the same way. So yeah, it all just looks like these diamonds here. Some people don't really like that. My favorite part about this plot were actually this top hat here. So here's the triple launch section, and this top hat actually travels here over the station. I really like the way that looks. That's really cool. I also really like this roof here made with the go-kart track. That looks really nice. It's really creative. So yeah, just good track texture throughout the plot. I also really like the custom supports on this roller coaster. There's also a go-kart track down here. Yeah, there's just lots of nice stuff here to look at. I wish it would have scored a little bit higher, I think. But overall, I really like this entry. So yeah, great work. Okay, here's the entry from Fuu. It's a newcomer on my server. You can see the coaster going around here. Fuu used the Giga Coaster track and the floorless coaster, so it actually looks like a Gerstlauer triple launch coaster. Just a really good layout, in my opinion. Not too many inversions, not too little. Nice mix of inversions as well. And all this looks really good. I really like the buildings that were made here. You can see they have a dominant color red with the brown, but all the buildings still look different. So yeah, just good, nice decorations everywhere, nice landscaping. So yeah, a really nice plot. Okay, here we have the entry from DarioGalan. I actually recognize a lot of my own style in this. I really love making tropical parks, jungles, and this is also one of my favorite color schemes. So yeah, also the trees, the way the foliage is done, the usage of these roofs and these bones, it's all stuff that I really like to do. So naturally, I really like this entry. I think this a really good layout for the coaster. Also with a launch section with a little airtime hill in it. I probably would have also put some mini suspended coaster track above the launch section just to extend it also over this airtime hill. Yeah, some other rides here as well. I also love how the track here interacts with itself with this inversion, which it then passes through later. So yeah, this I really like this entry. Great job from DarioGalan. Okay, here we have the entry from H-Man. He went for an Asian theme, and I think this plot looks amazing. So yeah, here we have the triple launch coaster. You can see it get launched here. This one used the limb coaster trains, so it's probably based on a triple launch coaster from Mack rides. I really love the supports on this top hat here. Yeah, you can see the coaster go through some inversions here, mostly inline twists, nothing too crazy. And then there's a corkscrew here. So yeah, quite a simple layout, quite low to the ground. It actually has one of these JoJo rules right out of the station. That's pretty cool. Yeah, other than that, there's two other coasters here. Here you can see a hardline twist. I think the lift hill is probably it could have probably used a steeper lift hill, because that's what these hardline twisters typically have. I think it's usually even vertical on the real hardline twisters. And here's a little looping coaster. I think it also looks pretty cool. I really like the color scheme of this coaster. So yeah, many great buildings in this entry as well. I like the landscaping, the coasters, the trees. So great job. Alright, here's the entry from Tim Burbank. So yeah, some big buildings in this entry, many custom supports as well. You can see the coaster go through its launch section here. Personally, I think these trains for the coaster are way too long. Typically, a triple launch coaster have 3 to 5 coaster cars. This one probably has, let's count them, has 12. So yeah, I would have gone with a few less trains probably. The layout is quite nice. Here you can see it travel through the triple launch section. Then there's Cobra roll. There's a big loop, another big loop, and then there's an Immelman here, and then there's some underground track here with another top hat. So yeah, a lot of track texture in this entry. Some nice custom supports. Yeah, there was one thing I really didn't like about this entry. The entry lacked a story. So to me it just looks like a random collection of buildings. There's a hospital here with a first aid station. Then there's a coliseum here. Then there's a temple here. And there was no story, so I have no idea why these buildings are here. He did do a little cool trick here with the mazes. I think these are different mazes pasted over each other, so it looks like wood here, and there's a brick maze here. Probably the layout of the maze is a little bit too difficult for the guests, because it's absolutely filled with guests. There's 225 people in it. That might be a little bit too much, and a lot of them just want to get out of the maze. Maybe it was his way to combat overcrowding in the park. I don't know. Okay, here's the entry from Capitalism. You may have seen it on Reddit. He's known as Random Dude there. He made this triple launch coaster. And just like the to be built coaster, Icebreaker, it also has a little airtime hill here in the launch. I think that's pretty cool. One thing I didn't really like is that this top hat is just really wide here. Of course that does allow the coaster to pass through it here, but I think it just looks a bit too short for this width. But yeah, that's just my personal gripe with this top hat. I do really like the buildings here in this section. These buildings they look pretty good. Other than that, you can see this little Woody over here, and some other rides here as well. What I do really like is this. You can see this piece of track here with a piece of coasted train. With a coasted train on it. I think this is a shoestring trick. Not sure. But yeah, this is really cool. So yeah, nice buildings. So nice coaster layout. But I would have probably changed the top hat if it was my entry. Alright, here we have the entry made by Maxa. So yeah, you can see the layout here. It's a big bowl of spaghetti here on the floor with some really bright green colors. Personally, these bright green colors are not my favorite, but I think some people really like it. I personally never really use them because I think they're a bit too bright. So yeah, this coaster again uses the limb-lined coaster trains. You can see it go up here the first time. I think you can then see it inside this building here. And then it goes through the layout. Well, yeah, like I said, it's a big. The track is intertwined throughout this area here. So yeah, lots of buildings here using the lots of expansion objects. Personally, I often try to stay away a bit from the animated expansion objects, just because the animations look a bit clunky. It's usually better in the animated objects from the original game, like the fire here, for example. Now, he said there was an Easter egg underground. Let's see if we can find it using the cutaway view. We can see some shops here inside this building. We can see Mr. Bones here right next to a crater. That's I'm not sure if that's the Easter egg, but that could be it. Alright, let's continue on to the next entry. Okay, here we have the entry made by Blonde Tuco. He made this interesting coaster here. It looks like two coasters, but it's actually one coaster with two different colors. And it even has, if I'm not mistaken, it even has two triple launch sections. But they're both quite shallow. So you can see the coaster going on the blue track here. Now it goes through this piece of the layout here. Also you can see this train on the green track here in another triple launch section. So yeah, it's actually quite cool. It has two triple launch sections. And yeah, it's also quite fun that it looks like two different coasters, but it is actually just one. So yeah, I think that's well executed. So yeah, the layout is nothing too crazy. That's a nice speed through the inversions as well. There's also some cool other rides here. There's this huge custom Ferris wheel. That's really cool. I think this is a long train of boats going around in a circle. Also here, there's this really fun ride. It's actually shoestring. It's called Tiger Tail. So yeah, guests who sit in this car, they move forward here while going down, slowing down, and then driving back up. This is actually shoestringed, so the train is split in two. You can see the other half of the car going around here underground. And because the other car goes up, it actually stops this train from crashing. But yeah, shoestring is probably a bit difficult to explain. If you don't know what shoestringing is, I recommend you to look up a tutorial on shoestringing in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. You can do some pretty fun stuff with that. I also like this drop tower here. That's actually quite cool. I also like making these in my parks. Okay, here we have the entry from DededeRobbie. Yeah, I like the colors in this map. There's a lot of brown, and it mixes well with the green from the trees. Some really nice supports on this coaster. That looks like wood. So here you can see the triple launch section. My main gripe with this coaster was that it's actually really fast. Probably a little bit too fast. It just flies over this top hat. And also goes through these inversions at a really high speed. So yeah, it probably could have used a bit of a lower speed. Also, there's a giant tree in this entry. So yeah, I prefer my custom trees to when I make them. I try to make them look a little bit more irregular. So I'm not really sure if this really works. I also saw some other people in the review section comment about it. So yeah, this probably could have used some improvement. But overall, I really like the look of this plot. Also, one thing you should be careful with is you can use gumdrops to emulate rocks, but you should always be a bit careful that you don't overdo it with the rocks. It's easy to overdo it with the gumdrops, and then it often doesn't look as good as anymore as it would if you just used them with care. But yeah, overall it's a really nice entry. Really great work. Okay, here's the entry from What the Hexadecimal. He made this really small plot. I think this was the smallest entry I received. It's 20 by 20 tiles probably. And of course there's this big Dutch flag which he put here in order to try and get a higher vote from the Dutch members on our Discord. It worked because I also gave him a higher rating. Just kidding, of course. So yeah, this coaster layout, I think it's actually not too unrealistic actually. It's normal triple launch coasters are also quite short. I like how it goes through this factory building. There's some glitching going on here in the roof. Jesus, it just keeps raining in all these entries. I don't know why. But yeah, probably he should have done something to make these walls not visible through the track. I don't think he... well, yeah, like he mentioned in his story for this plot, he just made this for fun, and he didn't really expect to score very high. I do like all the custom supports in this entry. Also, the colors, I think they work great. So yeah, overall, this is just a very good entry. Really great work. Okay, here we have the entry from Risiko. He built one of these, what's it called? Sky Screamers. I actually also wrote one of these myself in Germany. So yeah, this is a recreation of an existing model. Existing one is probably a little bit higher, but still, this one looks really good. So yeah, I was actually surprised I didn't see more people create rides like this one. But yeah, I think it's really well executed. It looks a lot like the actual ride. So yeah, this ride is really well done. I also like this loop here in the front with one of these display cars. Rain again. The rest of the entry is also really well done. Here's one of these slingshot rides. I believe Water Cooler recently made a tutorial on his YouTube channel on how to make one of these rides. I think this is executed quite well, but of course no custom vehicles are allowed in these entries, so we used the laydown roller coaster cars, so the guests are upright while they are being launched. I also really like this bobsleigh ride that's over here.
might be a little bit difficult to see, but you can take a better look if you download this map. Risiko said this was actually supposed to look a bit like one of those alpine coasters, but yeah, it also works well as a bobsleigh coaster. And also these buildings that are throughout the plot also look really good. So yeah, very nice job. Okay, here's the entry from Phoenix Wing 101. She said she only spent very little time on her entry. It does look a bit rushed in places, but overall this is very well executed. Again, one of these JoJo rolls right out of the station into the launch section. Yeah, there were some comments that the plot is very green, but I actually really like the way it looks. This jungle combines really well with this with these temple pieces. The layout of the coaster is also really nice. You can actually see a coaster train leave here. Now it's going through the launch, not making it quite through the inversion. Then it goes backwards on this spike. Also an airtime hill in the front and the back of the hill, just like the to-be-built ride Icebreaker. I really like how people already incorporate elements from rides that are still under construction. Yeah, it's nice to see the roller coaster industry evolve, and it's also nice to see people evolve their roller coasters based on stuff we see being developed. That's really nice. So yeah, I actually think this is one of the best layouts that I've seen in this contest. It's just done really well. Some stuff I also really liked is this snake that's here on top of the building. It's just one of these anaconda trains from the expansions, but it works really well as decoration. Okay, here we have the entry from Jonas Jackson. So yeah, one thing I immediately really liked when I opened this map was the palette that he used. So yeah, this is a coal mine, so he actually made a palette where all the guests have really black faces. Just probably from all the coal dust here. There's some really nice decorations throughout the plot, all these pipes and stuff, just to make it look like to make it look very industrial. That's very well done. And something I also really like is how the coaster actually uses part of this train track. Yeah, it might be a little bit difficult to see. Here we see the coaster arrive. It's really cool to see it go over these train tracks at a slow speed. Oh wait, this is the actual coaster. It's called Coal Transport. This is a different ride, Coal Train. But yeah, just everywhere you look, there's just cool stuff to see. Again, just you should really give this map a download yourself, just to check out all the little details. You can see the triple launch section here. He also used the wooden coaster trains, but I think it works quite well here. Sadly, a lot of the coaster is underground, and there's lots of stuff built here, so it's actually quite difficult to follow the coaster as it goes through all this stuff here. So yeah, my advice usually to people is to try and not build too much underground, especially if you also cover your surface in scenery and track pieces. But yeah, really nice buildings here, and yeah, just a lovely palette. Okay, here's the entry from Swag Titties. He actually based the layout of his coaster on the to-be-built coaster Pantheon. So yeah, I really like this layout. You can see a big station here made with all these ruins, or these Egyptian ruined pieces, some bushes, also some monorail track. This building just looks very impressive. Also like the entrance. It's called the American Pantheon. You can see the coaster leave here. So a small launch section here. Then some really twisty track before finally here it arrives at the triple launch section. So yeah, this triple launch section also has some hills in it. I think you will see that more and more in future launched coasters. In the past it was always straight track, but you can see that coaster companies are innovating with their launch sections. So yeah, a big top hat here, then here some more twisty tracks. I don't believe this track has any inversions, but it does look really nice. Also some cool support work here at the spike. These buildings here, they also look really nice. It's really nice what you can build without using custom scenery. And also some nice buildings on the other side. He also made a little arcade here. I think he called Iretont Skibo. That's because Iretont built an arcade once in one of his contest entries, and I think he liked it so much that he copied it and he credited Iretont here. And here's a little shoestring ride using the spinning wild mouse cars. Many people commented on this area of grass here in the middle. Swag didn't really know what to build here, so he just left it open and put mowed grass. Personally, I think maybe some water would have looked nice here or something else. I don't know. Here's the entry from Mamarillas. He made this coaster named Stargazer, and the station actually has a big telescope here. I think the telescope looks pretty good. So yeah, the coaster layout it's a bit crazy. Gets launched here, goes straight up, then through these inversions. There's lots of high hills and drops. There's quite a lot of inversions here as well. Here's a sort of a top hat with a dip in it over the park entrance. And yeah, the layout is just very long. You can see it go here. I think the trains might be a little bit too long for this triple launch coaster, but that's just my personal opinion. I really like the color scheme of the coaster. I think it works quite well. So yeah, personally, I think the layout is a bit too crazy, a bit too long, but yeah, it does look very impressive. I do like all the buildings here in the map, and my favorite part of the map is actually when we zoom out. You can actually see these constellations here in the sky, and I think that really works in this theme. It's my favorite part of the map actually. So yeah, that was really clever. Okay, here we have the entry from Mekkit. Mekkit in this round actually decided to build like Swag Titties usually builds. So yeah, in the end it looks very clean. And it actually looks very realistic as well. The coaster layout sadly is very short, but I do like that it uses the floorless coaster trains and that it uses the Giga Coaster track. Yeah, everything just looks very real. Just the paths all look very clean. Nice foliage all around. Really nice buildings, barriers around the coaster. There's even a little what do you call it? Construction site. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Everything just looks really nice. It's a really nice entry from Mekkit. A little bit more down to earth than how Mekkit usually builds, and that's probably also why it scores a little bit lower. When you go for realism in your entries, it's you're often missing a bit that wow factor. So yeah, that's often what makes it a little bit difficult to score very high. But still, this entry is one of my favorites. It looks really good. I just wish the layout was a little bit longer. Okay, here we have the entry from Iretont. He used one of these palettes from one of the earlier rounds. I think it's called Lapper's Exhale Water. And actually, I really like the color of this water. Also, you can see this boat going around between these islands. That's pretty neat. Here you can see the coaster layout. I really love these custom supports here on the spike section of the coaster. You can see the coaster doing a 180 turn here before entering the launch section. Again, more really cool looking supports here. I love the blue color of this palette. I think it works really well for the coaster, but also for the custom supports. It combines really well with the yellow. Again, he used the right track type and train type for this kind of ride, so I really like that. Also, I think this River Rapids ride is really well done. I like how it travels right here under the coaster. Just a great interaction throughout. So a nice diagonal bridge here. They're usually quite tricky to make, especially if you make them higher. Cool wooden buildings as well. So yeah, Iretont said he wasn't that happy with his entry, but I think everything here looks really great. Okay, in 5th place we have this entry from Skiffa. He actually was inspired by his entry by the movie The Shining. Now, I don't really know the movie by heart, but there were some references in this entry. There's a guy here on the balcony called Jack Torrance. I don't know that name, sadly, but I'm sure it's something from the movie. I really like the colors of this coaster. Also the layout. These are some really nice supports. I really like how it looks here with the backdrop of these icy cliffs, and also with these ruins or these temple pieces on the cliffs. That's a really good combination that I don't think I have seen this before. That's really neat. My favorite part of this entry is actually this big mansion here, which also serves as the coaster station. Sadly, it's a little bit glitchy in parts, but it just looks amazing. This is a really, really good combination of normal scenery and expansion scenery, and also these track pieces used for the roofs. I think this is one of the most impressive NCSO buildings that I've seen in this game. So yeah, really great buildings. So yeah, very good entry again from Skiffa. Alright, here in 4th place we have the entry made by HenkDeSuperNerd. Once again, he scores pretty high. I love the palette he used. I think it's a steampunk palette. So yeah, we have the triple launch coaster here. First it gets launched up this loop, then it goes backwards through this weird inversion. And what's so cool is that as it goes down, it actually travels to the other side, so the track right next to the original track, and then goes through the same loop. That's quite a neat little trick. Of course, not very realistic because it means you would need a switch track here, but I think it looks quite cool. So the buildings, I think they look a bit monotone in places, especially if you look at their backside. But I think it works with this palette. Actually, what my favorite part about this entry is the queue of this coaster. It actually has four separate entrances. You can see them now right next to each other, each with their own queue. I don't actually know how Henk did it, and I think it also didn't work out properly because there's actually Let's check. Oh wait, I selected the wrong ride. There we go. So yeah, there's actually 346 guests queuing now for this ride. So I think there's lots of guests overlapping each other now. So yeah, I think something didn't really quite work out there. But I think this is a great trick. And I'm pretty sure we'll find a way to make this happen without the guests all overlapping each other. Okay, here's the entry from Anda23. He made this really cool, I think it's Asian style plot or Japanese. He said something like the old ways meet the new. So yeah, here you can see this rice field, at least I think it is a rice field with some small Asian style buildings, and then there's a modern cityscape. Of course, what's striking here is the palette that he used with these dark colors mixed with this bright blue and pink and the green. It's a great, I think it's a great palette. Let's quickly see which palette this is. Cyberpunk version 5. So yeah, it's not the palette from the earlier Cyberpunk multiplayer round, but it's actually a palette that he made himself. And yeah, I really like it, especially these blue colors as well. What's also funny is how he made these sushi trains here. That's actually quite a funny trick. So yeah, I really love the buildings here. The coaster is a little bit hard to follow because it travels throughout these buildings, maybe a little bit too fast in places. But yeah, there's just a lot to see in this entry. So yeah, again, I cannot make this video too long, so I really recommend you to download this map for yourself, just to check out these cool entries that are everywhere throughout this entry. Okay, in second place we have this entry from Jens J. He made this really cool looking triple launch coaster that looks like it's up in the skies with all these Asian style buildings. Man, this absolutely looks amazing. I love the color scheme on this coaster in combination with the white from the clouds. It looks really good. Just cool buildings everywhere. Also, I like the supports on the coaster here. It's actually being carried by two dragons. It's really cool custom supports here also for stuff like the Cobra roll, but also here custom supports for the normal coaster track. It all just works. The plants here are also really nice. There's bamboo dispersed between the buildings, and just lots of Japanese roofs here. My only nitpick, let's call it that, with this plot was that I would actually have liked to see the buildings have some more windows. But yeah, this was really one of my favorite entries. Everything here just looks so good. I just love seeing these players in my contests improve. It's just amazing to look at. So yeah, just go download this entry and check it out for yourself. It's really awesome. Okay, and here's the winner of this round. This entry was made by Suormot. I think this is the second contest that he joined, not sure, but damn, I really love all the buildings in this entry. So yeah, you can see the coaster going on this triple launch section with this really cool top hat. Goes through an inversion here. Then here's a loop and a Cobra roll. Now after that, it goes on this helix around the top hat. I really like the way this looks. This is definitely my favorite element of this ride. It just looks so nice to see it, to see this track go around the top hat here. It just fits, and it looks yeah, It looks really nice. Also all these plants here around the top hat. I also love how the path goes over the coaster here. Just really nice path interaction. One other thing about this entry that I really liked was this train station. This is just really well done. So all these cables above the track, the bridges. We have a really nice church building here. I think it's a church. Also with the station of the coaster. Some more really nice buildings here. Here you can also see the queue here. Even the queue is well done. The plants here all work really well together. There's just even a lighthouse. There's just so much in this entry. This entry really has everything. So yeah, I can really see why it was the favorite entry of so many people. And that's also why the members on my Discord have chosen this entry as the winner of the round. Alright, that was a lot of entries. I hope you enjoyed watching me rate all of them. Like I said, if you're a member on my Discord, you can simply go to the archive and there you can download all entries so you can watch them yourselves. By the way, Discord is completely free, so you don't have to worry about the membership on my Discord costing you anything. You just have to make an account on Discord and you can enter and watch all these amazing entries. Also, if you want to join any of these contests, we do a different ride type every month. So yeah, the next one will start in a few days. We usually start at the beginning of the month, and then the contest usually finishes a few days before the end of the month. And then everyone who's a member on my Discord can rate all the other entries. And then out of that we get an average score, and that way the winner is decided. Anyway, like I said, I hope you enjoyed watching all these entries, and I really hope to see you join one of these contests in the future. Alright, that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again in the next one. See you later.